Welcome to a world where every family secret, every hidden betrayal, and every shocking twist is brought to light. Here, the past isn't just remembered, it's exposed, and the consequences of greed, deceit, and manipulation unfold in ways no one could predict. Imagine walking into a family battle over inheritance, where loyalty crumbles and ambition rises. Picture courtroom confrontations that strip away years of carefully buried secrets, leaving hearts raw and trust shattered. Feel the quiet power of resilience as cunning strategies turn the tables on those who once held all control. And witness the final revelations, shocking enough to forever alter a family's legacy. If you crave gripping stories filled with tension, suspense, and jaw-dropping twists, you've found your place. Every tale here exposes the raw truth behind love, betrayal, and the dark sides of family ties. The day the will was read, the air felt heavier than ever, thick with whispers that cut sharper than knives. What was meant to be a solemn farewell to a beloved grandparent twisted instantly into a battlefield of greed and cunning. Every face around the table flickered with anticipation, but the eyes of those closest carried a hunger that hadn't been noticed before. The inheritance wasn't just money, it was a symbol, a tangible proof of loyalty and legacy, and suddenly, loyalty meant nothing. Every interaction became a minefield. Casual remarks were laced with veiled threats, smiles masked scorn, and laughter carried the hollow echo of betrayal. The parents, once revered pillars of support, now revealed a hunger that had been carefully hidden beneath years of parental affection. They spoke of fairness and justice, but each word dripped with entitlement, as if the years of manipulation had finally found their payday. It wasn't just about what had been left behind, it was about control, power, and the thrill of watching someone else's life tilt beneath their fingers. Late nights blurred into strategy and vigilance. Every letter, every meeting, every casual comments from the family was scrutinized, decoded, and stored. There was a growing sense that something beyond the courtroom had been set into motion, a plan that would unveil truths buried under decades of polite smiles. Hidden debts, secret alliances, whispers of betrayal that no one had dared confront. Everything began to unravel. Even the smallest gesture held meaning, and the courtroom became a stage where years of deception would finally face judgment. And then the day of confrontation arrived. Eyes that once held warmth now glinted with expectation, the judge's voice cutting through the tension like a scalpel. Each revelation landed with precision, a half-forgotten letter, a secret deal, a truth long denied. Gasps echoed through the room as layers of greed, lies, and unspoken resentment were peeled away. The power dynamics shifted with every carefully revealed detail, and what had begun as an attempt to claim what was owed turned into a revelation of just how fragile the family bonds really were. By the end, the courtroom held more than just legal verdicts. It held the weight of exposed ambitions, raw emotions, and the undeniable fact that nothing could ever return to the way it had been. Justice came quietly, but its impact resonated loudly. The courtroom felt colder than expected, the kind of cold that seeps into bones and refuses to leave. Each step into that space carried the weight of unspoken grudges, simmering anger, and the fear of truths that had been carefully hidden for years. The parents, poised and polished, spoke of legality and fairness, but every word felt like a carefully aimed dagger, testing boundaries, trying to provoke reactions. It was clear that what was at stake wasn't just the inheritance. It was pride, control, and the exposure of secrets some hoped would remain buried forever. As testimony began, the layers of the family's hidden life started to peel back. Casual remarks turned into veiled accusations, and seemingly innocent memories revealed cracks of long-held deception. A casual glance at a ledger uncovered transactions that had never been disclosed. A faint hesitation in speech betrayed concealed alliances, and whispered admissions hinted at betrayals that had quietly destroyed trust over the years. Each revelation landed like a thunderclap, shaking the courtroom and the relationships within it. Even the judge seemed to sense the tension that went beyond legal matters. The focus shifted subtly with every piece of evidence, every quiet statement, revealing how deeply the family had manipulated appearances. What had once seemed like harmony now appeared as a delicate facade, meticulously maintained to hide greed, resentment, and unspoken grudges. Every corner of the room seemed to hum with the tension of secrets finally exposed. Emotions surged through the air, anger, hurt, disbelief, melding into an almost tangible weight that pressed on everyone present. Hearts once trusting were now raw, relationships strained to breaking. There was no room for denial. Every truth uncovered demanded acknowledgement. Even the smallest slip, a whispered confession or overlooked detail, became a weapon in the battle of revelation, and the impact of years of deception struck relentlessly. By the time the day drew to a close, it wasn't just about winning or losing, it was about the undeniable truths that had finally surfaced. The room, once filled with polite civility, now echoed with the consequences of betrayal, leaving everyone forever changed. Justice didn't need celebration. The truth itself had done the work. Every move was deliberate, quiet, and calculated. The parents believed control was theirs, that years of manipulation had cemented them as the ultimate arbiters of what was owed and what could be taken. But beneath the calm surface, a strategy had been brewing, subtle, patient, and precise. It wasn't about confrontation at first. It was about observation, understanding the patterns, the weaknesses, the habits that had gone unnoticed for far too long. Every smile they gave, every statement they made in court or at home was cataloged, analyzed, and stored like ammunition for the moment it would matter most. The cleverness lay in restraint, no impulsive reactions, no obvious retaliation, only a quiet, simmering awareness that slowly began to unsettle the manipulators. Whispered insinuations in the right place, carefully presented evidence that seemed incidental but carried devastating implications, and subtle legal moves that caught even the most confident off guard. Each action was a brick in a larger design, building momentum until the structure of their dominance began to tremble. It became clear that the power they wielded was never absolute. Old letters, hidden agreements, and overlooked details revealed the cracks in their carefully maintained facade. Allies shifted in silence, loyalties were questioned, and the parents' confidence began to erode as the cumulative weight of their own deceit surfaced in ways they couldn't control. Each revelation was a reminder of the consequences of underestimating resilience, of how patience and meticulous planning could turn what seemed like vulnerability into power. And as the moment of reckoning approached, the courtroom, once a stage for intimidation and entitlement, transformed. Every argument the parents presented was met with calm, reasoned responses. Every attempt to manipulate attention diverted quietly, like a wave redirected by an unseen hand. What had begun as a defensive stance evolved into complete command of the narrative. Betrayal was exposed, trust had been shattered, and yet the quiet strength beneath it all had turned the tables entirely. In the end, the manipulators were left staring at the consequences of their greed, unable to reclaim the control they had assumed was theirs. The resilience that had once been invisible now stood undeniable, unshakable, and victorious. Patience had won where anger alone never could. The courtroom fell silent, the kind of silence that stretches so long it almost feels like the walls themselves are holding their breath.
What had begun as a battle over inheritance had transformed into a reckoning where every carefully concealed secret, every hidden betrayal, and every lie long ignored finally surfaced. Faces that had carried masks of composure now flickered with disbelief, shame, and anger. The parents, who had wielded manipulation as if it were a weapon, suddenly seemed small, their arrogance stripped away by truths they had never imagined would see the light. Evidence laid bare decades of deception. Documents thought insignificant revealed illicit agreements and long-forgotten promises, and the subtle, seemingly inconsequential gestures of family members hinted at alliances and betrayals that had been hidden in plain sight. Words spoken casually years ago, dismissed at the time, now carried a weight that could not be denied. The courtroom became a theater of exposure, each revelation like a spotlight illuminating the cracks in a carefully constructed facade. And then came the final piece, a truth so unexpected that even the most skeptical could not have predicted it. It wasn't just about money or the manipulation or even the vindication. It was about the depth of what had been kept secret, the betrayals that had shaped decisions, the silent strategies that had guided every interaction, and the raw emotions that had been denied an outlet for years. Every subtle manipulation, every whispered agreement, every hidden motive was laid bare, leaving the manipulators stunned and powerless. The impact was immediate. The courtroom, once filled with tension and anticipation, now thrummed with a kind of awe, the awe of truths revealed and justice realized. Hearts that had been wounded and trust that had been shattered were now witnesses to the undeniable consequences of greed and deceit. No one could look away, and no one could remain untouched by the revelations. When the gavel finally came down, it didn't just mark the end of the trial, it marked the exposure of a family's hidden history, the reckoning of deception, and the undeniable triumph of patience, cunning, and resilience over manipulation. The past could no longer hide, and the future would never forget. Thanks for watching and diving into the twists, betrayals, and shocking revelations with us. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, make sure to hit that like button, share with friends who love suspense, and subscribe to never miss a story that exposes the truth behind family secrets. Stay tuned, because the next twist could be even more shocking than the last.